this week, for some reason, I've been getting so many messages about scrape hunting and like the proper way of doing that. I was going to see if you could like talk about that for just a short little bit here.
Yeah, we
People
do have
may,
a video on that too, on the page somewhere. But for me, I think I've been getting that question too. So I don't know if it's the same people that are asking you or what, but it has been coming up quite a bit. Maybe just because it's scrape time of the year.
yeah, people are just seeing scrapes in the woods right now, I think.
Yeah. So, in my opinion, scrapes are a lot like rubs as their markers. They're communication markers. So a buck that's making a scrape is either communicating with does or is communicating with bucks. And a lot of people call scrapes primary, and I have used that term too, but I don't kind of see it that way. I see them as like they'll put scrapes where there's does they're interested in, right? And they'll put scrapes where there's where trails collide, and that's like claiming something, like claiming the area or something. And they'll mark food sources with scrapes. They'll mark bedding areas with scrapes. And I've noticed that the overall majority of scrapes are put down at night. Like probably 90-95% of them are put down at night. And that's because that's when deer move the most. And that's when they feel the most comfortable, right? So hunting scrapes in general, just to say blanketly hunting scrape lines, is probably a bad idea if you're looking for big bucks, in my opinion. But hunting an area that should have big bucks in daylight, like close to their bedding area, and finding a scrape there is a good thing. And hunting a scrape that's near the bedding area is the confidence builder of telling you, okay, there's a buck in there and he's coming out and I'm in the right area. And that's one that's probably used in daylight. Now, for me, the scrapes that have worked out the best for me, and I've killed some of my biggest bucks, especially with a bow, over the top of scrapes. And in each of those cases, those scrapes were at a union of trails that came out of bedding areas that held multiple bucks. So the bedding areas were like joined. You know, like one buck might be over here, and one is over here, and they're only like 75 or 100 yards apart, but they stage in the same position, going the same direction, like towards food or does or whatever it is, right? Mm-hmm. And where they intersect, they put a scrape. So that scrape will be, 75, 100 yards from the bedding, and those two bucks will meet there, right? And I shot the 400-pound slop on a bed scrape, and I shot that 24-inch wide 11 pointer over bed scrape. I can think of several others. I can think of one where I went in and shot a big 8-pointer on it, and then took my work buddy out there the next day, and he came in and he shot the other buck that was coming in working it. And sometimes it's even more than 2 bucks. And a lot of guys will mistakenly call that a primary scrape. But I think what the definition of a primary scrape is supposed to be one that all these bucks are coming to or whatever. But I think they're going there because of a reason. It's really the original buck laying that scrape down is competing with these other deer for space or for does or for food or, or whatever it be. Do you agree with any of that?
Yeah, for sure. Like we were walking around in Wisconsin, western Wisconsin, there's freaking scrapes everywhere, down the walking trails, in the woods, right. Wherever, they're everywhere. When you see a scrape,
see a big scrape like that, and just first one, he goes, sets a stand up over the top of it. And that's why your average guy fails.
So what would make you set over a scrape then? Like
it's proximity to bedding, whether it's doe bedding or buck bedding, proximity to bedding.
Right. Yeah, they have to have a reason to come there at daylight.
Even if I'm hunting a funnel like during rut, I'm gonna be right between 2 bedding areas in as narrow an area as possible. I noticed that they'll just little small ridges right between 2 bedding areas. They'll slip through in daylight. The bigger, older animals. I mean, you'll get a day or two out of the rut, or even your biggest animals will go on a runabout, right? Just the other day, I had one day where I picked up this giant 10 I hadn't seen before on all my cameras over by Dave's. Never seen him before. Just one day he comes through. He spends the day all over the place. You'll get that. A buck will get worked up and go running. And that's what gets guys to just keep hunting these big, wide open funnels and stuff. But literally, they much more often move through little tiny funnels that have a little cover between two bedding areas. And if you can slide between those two bedding areas, and usually you can tell the bedding areas by terrain, you know, whether it's leeward points that are thick or what be it, you know. But you find scrapes in that area, even if they're not right up against the thick, you're in between, it's rut, they're cruising. If it's on the leeward bench, you know, or top third, I'd probably think about hunting that.
Yep. I think the biggest thing is, like, whenever I tell people, I was like, you got to really think about where that scrape's located and why that buck would be there in daylight. If you can't, you know, answer those two questions, you probably just need to keep going, you know. Yeah. Is there any like tips on you can give to people on how they can tell how big of a deer it is that's using a scrape or has created a scrape?
You know, the track. If they don't leave a track, when they paw, you see a wide space between the paws as they splay out. So, you know, small buck will just do a couple scratches, but big buck as he scratches, his paw will spread out, and you'll see more of a Y shape to the paw as the toes go wider as he's pulling.
What about like the size of the scrape? Have you ever noticed that? Is there a difference, like a little buck tinking around, making a little basketball size?
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
I think sometimes the smaller ones are just bucks that are just really worked up. They're walking through the woods, making one every 10 feet or something, you know. Yeah. And a lot of times those are the smaller bucks, honestly. Yeah. But I don't know. I've seen some pretty small bucks work some pretty big scrapes. Right. Scratching all over the place, working, throwing dirt all over the place. And I've watched them do it for several minutes and work the whole area up. But I've heard people say what you're saying, like, oh, I found a scrape the size of a car hood. What does that have to do with the antlers or the buck? Right. The track is the biggest indicator if you got a track in the scrape. I have seen them too where the branch above the scrape is up like 6 feet. And you're like, you know, that's pretty interesting. And then if the branch is, say, big around as your thumb and it's broken off at the end, and it's got like antler marks on it and stuff, that usually gets my attention too. I can't say for sure that I can positively say I've seen big bucks make that sound, but use common sense. It takes something big to do something that high up and break the branch up like that, right? Yep.
No, it makes complete sense.
No, a little buck could break a branch like that, but not 6 feet off the ground. It takes neck strength and big antlers to do that.
Yep. No, that's good. I'd gotten multiple questions about scrapes this week, and I thought I'm just going to ask Dan on the podcast, and that way the reference instead of it's hard to answer people in messages.
Yourself a little credit too. You're a solid hunter. You should have some answers to that too.
Yeah, no, I mean I agree with all you, and I would echo the same thing. I was asking the question for people more or less. I've killed 2 really nice bucks over scrapes. One was on a cornfield edge. I really have had a good luck over the years seeing mature deer. Like, if you can find some good scrapes, you know, near a cornfield edge where a point comes into a cornfield or something. And another one was the exact same thing. I killed a giant deer. You can't see it back here, but it's over here. It's the back one back there. He didn't score much, but he field dressed like 236. It was on a funnel between 2 bedding areas where there was a scrape. I actually shot him as he was walking out of the scrape he just made or freshened up or whatever. So, hey everybody, if you like the channel, make sure you subscribe right here. And if you like the clips, I got 2 more options for you. 2 options right here. Subscribe right here. See you guys.